I was coming home from the hospital, 1965. My oldest son was about a year old, not quite. Had pneumonia, been in the hospital, and Sue had stayed with him for a couple of nights, and now he was well enough to come home. And we're almost at the corner of 29th and Fairlawn and Topeka, headed south, and there's a car parked across the street headed north, Lincoln Town car with 3 guys in it with a map spread over the dash and the Missouri tags on the front. I was sure they were Kansas City, and I was sure they were looking at real estate. I mentioned something to my wife, and as we were pulling to the stoplight, and she said, "Well, do you want to go over and knock on the window?" And I said, "No, I want to get you and the baby home." It was February and cold and drizzly, and so we only lived a couple, 3 blocks from there, and I took them home. Came back and the car was still there. Pulled in behind them, got out and knocked on the window and said, "You guys look like you're looking at real estate, and I'm a local broker, and maybe I can help you." And they laughed and invited me in, and the head of Arlen's department store real estate, who was the guy in the back seat, said, "I really would prefer to be closer to downtown, preferably on Topeka Boulevard, north of the mall. And I just happened to know of a piece of real estate over there that you couldn't tell by driving by. It was as big as it was, or available." Took him over there, and I could tell he loved that real estate. And Mace began talking to me about joining them. And said, "We're going to build some more discount stores in Iowa and Oklahoma and Missouri." And then I became aware of White Lake Mall being on the market and suggested to them that we should consider buying it, because I knew the small stores were doing extremely well. They'd mostly moved downtown. Long story short, we ended up buying them all, and I moved in to manage and lease it at their request. And less than 3 years after we bought the mall, we refinanced it. And that's what financed our first purchase of a mall in California, and also paid the expenses of moving Mason Richard from New York City out there and moving me from Topeka out there. And that's how we grew to become the 3rd largest owner of malls in the United States, and eventually became public on the New York Stock Exchange. And this had been my career, building that company and watching it grow and become formidable. And that entrepreneurial spirit is probably what carried that forward.
I think that the qualities of entrepreneurship that my dad has lived and learned are very reflective in this award. I think there's certain qualities that you have to be a successful entrepreneur, and the one that rings true to my dad is persistence. Persistence and resilience are keys to any successful entrepreneur. You have to take every chance you can take, and if you work hard and believe in yourself and you move forward with purpose, things will work out. Maybe not exactly as you had planned, but they'll work out, because you're just going to keep knocking on windows until you get where you need to be.
That entrepreneurial instinct was very strong in me, out of essentially necessity. And I'm happy that it was, because I went broke at age 27, and my dad urged me to go back to Kansas Power and Light, who was happy to have me back if I wanted to go back there. But I was convinced that I could make it in real estate in spite of my bad start. I believe in the phrase that God helps those that help themselves. But I think it doesn't hurt to give a helping hand to somebody who's trying and who wants to help themselves.
When I think about my dad's courage and initiative and what he did and accomplished, watching his journey to success and then turning around and pulling other people towards success as well, and giving them the tools and the connections they need to be successful, I think that's a pretty good way to live your life. If you've received the Knock on the Window Award, first, congratulations. I'm proud of you. Second, keep going. Whatever your dreams are, whatever achievements you have, there's always another level. And I would continue to ask you to pursue the next level. Soon, it's going to be your turn to help others. So when you get on third base, look back to first and drag a couple people with you.
to try and develop and maintain an entrepreneurial spirit, a spirit of, I can do this. I would encourage that entrepreneurial spirit. Try to be the best you can be, the most you can be, and don't be afraid to take chances or risk, irrespective of the challenges or the hurdles. Seek opportunity and don't be afraid to knock on a window.